Copies, right, Susan? Of the, yeah.
Yes.
I can give you paper copies of the rest. Sure.
So it's just the 2 pages that you sent?
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. We're going to talk about that, okay? But the decision is the 2 pages. This is a decision. Okay. And I just need to advise you, don't believe what you read in the paper. It's not accurate. There was a motion made, then there was discussion, there were 2 amendments to the motion. So you need to read the actual decision itself. I guess, well, maybe we should discuss the procedure first, because I think that also relates to the timing involved. Because I think you have a lot of homework to do. The decision was remanded to you, and it's pretty well set forward on this decision under item 2. There's a lot of specific things that the zoning board is saying that it doesn't find in your decision. And it wants you to basically review your decision and respond to those items there from the record. So what you really need to do is review the record. I think just with scheduling, I think we're probably going to be talking several weeks out here before you hear it. And in that time, we provided to the zoning board on appeal, but I don't think we provided to you the record. We're going to provide you with the record, which is the several volumes of the transcript and all the exhibits. And I guess my hope is that we can give it all to you as we did to them on a thumb drive, so we don't have to make lots of copies. But if you want a hard copy, then we'll get it to you, so that you have an opportunity to read that stuff and look at that stuff between now and when you convene, and then be able to respond to this decision based on the record that you'll have access to. So that will obviously take some time as well. Essentially, it was a 4-3 vote, so it's really the 4 people who voted in the affirmative that need to answer these questions for the zoning board. So and I'm going to provide a written memo on this as well, but I wanted to get you thinking about it so that you've got the time now, you've got a month's time or whatever, you have Thanksgiving holiday, sit down, instead of watching a football game, read a transcript. So you have the time to be able to do this, read this, mark it up, study it, and then when you come back at that meeting, be able to discuss it. Because that's what you need to do, discuss it and come up with it so that you can draft a decision to respond to the zoning board's decision.
So the step 1 is responding to the zoning board's decision.
That's step 1, 2, that's the only step.
Okay.
That is the only step. It has not, the zoning board did not reverse your decision and call for a new hearing.
Okay.
They remanded it here, as it says, and more specific findings and discussion are requested with regard to the following. That's what they're looking for. Not new stuff, but this stuff here. Where in the record, and how did you get to your decision on these items based on the record, because they don't see it in the initial decision. That's what your job is. That will go back to the zoning board, they'll look at it again, and then they'll decide. Okay, that's enough, we uphold the decision. No, it's not, we reverse the decision.
I could be heard briefly.
This is not a public hearing.
I'm an attorney for the appellants. I'm requesting to be heard.
It's up to the chair, but I would recommend against it. I think the time to do that will be at the public hearing. This is specifically on the agenda, as it was last time, as we didn't know when we get the decision, for the scheduling and the procedure. And if they want to make any arguments at that time on the procedural questions. I would think that's appropriate when everybody would know what's on the item for decision.
Well, again, I would rather wait only because I have not read the transcripts. That's extensive, and for me to just look at this two-page thing and not have that as a reference, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know about anybody else.
I agree.
What is that?
Having, opening this up.
Opening this up.
Public discussion.
If I may, I just do have copies of the deliberations that, if you would like those as well, we got them
As a
from the town.
discussion, so
I'm sorry, we were discussing amongst ourselves. 1 second. What do you?
I'm not ready to discuss this at the time. I'm going to open this up. We're not looking at the public vote.
We'd rather not.
No.
Would you accept copies of the deliberations from the zoning?
That
board?
would go
If
to our
you
attorney.
got anything you want to submit it to the staff
Okay.
for distribution,
Okay, we are going to submit a memo too, so I can submit the whole thing as well, if that's
you
easier.
you certainly can.
Okay, thank
That-
you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I might, I think it might be appropriate. The solicitor has framed the argument a certain way, in a way that the appellants disagree with. So rather, without getting into any testimony or public comment, I think it would be important for the board to understand the appellant's position prior to going ahead and considering the record and going down a path that might end up being prejudicial to the appellants, but also to the entire process.
Well, if there's anything more that needs to be submitted, please feel free to submit it to Susan, but at this point in time, I polled the board. You know, we'd rather look at the transcript of our meeting so that we can go forward with that. If at the time there's other issues that need to be addressed, I would rather wait until we've seen and kind of formulated where, individually, where we want to go.
I understand that, and I'm not suggesting that anything that might be said here tonight would go to the substance of the record.
But we're not sure if that's, to be honest with
Well,
you.
that's
I mean,
fine.
once
I
it's
don't-
out of somebody's mouth, it's out, and I'd rather, you know, not that, have that not happen.
No, that's unfortunate, Madam Chair. Thank you.
So with that in mind, we need to pick a date. You indicated previously that you wanted to have this at a special meeting. You
Right.
didn't want to have your regular meeting. And people gave their times when they weren't going to be available, being away, and we've got Thanksgiving. So I think what Susan and I were looking at, sorry, I shouldn't have, what I was looking at, is Thursday, November 29th. That is the 5th Thursday of the month, so it doesn't conflict with any other regular meeting. It's the Thursday after Thanksgiving. So, and it is available, and as of 2 nights ago, the town hall was available. I'm going to double check the town hall calendar now.
Still be a stenographer available too, Andy?
Yeah, let me get back to the mic.
Okay.
Yes, we would have a stenographer. In fact, Susan is not available on that date, but we were going to plan to have a stenographer here anyway.
Okay.
So she would get a pass.
Okay.
And yes, the 29th is still available. If that, I mean, if not, we can work for other dates. I just,
Everyone so far is, of the people that were voting that night, have said they can make it except for Victor. You know, Victor is always the worst.
Well, Victor
nobody
was-
can die the day before.
Or 2 days before. I thought, oh, wait a minute.
Might have a school.
Which side was Victor on?
It is.
4.
Okay, so we need him.
Yeah, we do. Now, he said he cannot be here, or he may not be able to be here.
I haven't asked him, but based on what's going on in the past, if something comes up at work.
Well, we may have to see if he can switch off with somebody, because he needs to be here.
So Andy, we're just answering this question.
Can you,
We're not
can
actually
you speak in the
revoting.
mic? So,
I'm sorry. We're just answering the questions here specifically. We're not actually revoting.
that's correct. So, I mean, that'll be up for people, that'll be up for people to argue, and you can decide that night, but that is my advice.
I'm just gonna continue that we would ask to be heard on the procedural components. Nothing I'm gonna say is going to go into the substance. Here, it seems that the town HDC is asking questions as to the procedure it should be considering. The point that I want to make deals exclusively with the procedure and how a remand works and what your options are on remand. And I understand the full want to just consider the transcripts. However, I think it would be beneficial for you to understand the procedure before diving into that task.
I think that's advice that we take from ourselves.
I still like to put our opinion on the record.
I think that's fine, but I think the time to do that is on the 29th. And if you are persuaded and decide you want to do it differently, you'll do it differently. And if you need to continue it to another night, you'll continue it or what. But I think it should all be argued at once, rather than, my concern is under the Open Meetings Act, we put this as a discussion here. It's on our discussion items. It's not a public comment item. And there may be other people who wanted to comment who didn't come because they didn't think they would have the chance to. So I think it's appropriate to do that. We're going to schedule it, and then everybody can be heard. You can deal with all procedural objections first.
Madam Chair, if I might, it was noticed as an item on the agenda as a procedural matter precedent to the board's consideration, so I think it would be appropriate
Well,
to consider an argument about procedure. I don't think you have an open meetings issue here, and I don't know why the board feels compelled to continue to prejudice the incumbent's rights in this regard.
well, it is an open meeting.
Yes, it is.
And I don't see that, I mean, I understand that there are different sides to this group, and I only see, it doesn't look like the applicant or any of the applicants' representatives are here, and I don't want to make it look like we're allowing one certain portion. And I understand that they have the right to be here, but under consideration from the commission's attorney, I would feel more comfortable having everyone have their say at the same time in the same place without not having representation. If anyone certainly feels differently, I'm willing to listen. But
So, coming back then, Thursday, November 29th at 7 p.m.
that's fine with me.
And Susan, you can notice that.
Right.
I'm sorry?
Sonny needs to be here.
Sonny needs to be here also.
Sonny.
Sonny.
Sonny needs to be here also.
If there's a problem, if we find out that there's a pre-existing problem, someone's going to be away, then we're going to have to poll and reschedule. And we
Right.
might end up waiting for you to your December meeting to schedule it after that.
Okay.
And we'll get the materials to you. We'll try to get the materials to you by next week, so you have plenty of time. Is there anybody who is not okay with getting it as a thumb drive?
Fine. Do we have project monitor reports? Any project monitor reports? Susan, do you have anything?
Nothing else really out there.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? All those opposed? What?
I wonder if Ian wrote it.
See you next month.